ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरुः सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरुः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। शान्तिपाठ। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So in the first section or the first khanda of the first Mundaka, the Mundakopanishad introduced the two vidyas or the two streams of knowledge, Paravidya, the highest transformative knowledge, and Aparavidya, which we can call as that knowledge which only provides means and ends to fulfill our dharma, artha, kama, purusharthas. Also, we can say they are branches of material science. And the entire first khanda dealt with Paravidya and what is revealed by Paravidya. What is Paravidya? It is nothing but that Aksharam Brahman, which is revealed by the Paravidya or the knowledge of the Upanishads, which talks about this Aksharam or Brahman as the very Jagat Karanam. It talked about the Jagat Karanam Brahma, Aksharam. In the words of Mundaka, Brahman is called as Aksharam. And it also talked about the Swarupa Lakshanani of this Brahman, which is revealed by Paravidya. In the second section that we are seeing now, the second khanda of the first Mundaka, as I explained in the last session, the Aparavidya means what? The Veda Purva or the Karma Kanda of all the Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda, which has got a large voluminous initial part called as the Veda Purva or the first part of the Vedas, or also called as Karma Kanda, wherein thousands of karmas and upasanas are given. Karmas means all kinds of these spiritual actions, you can call it religious actions. Karmas means that doing something along the way that has been talked about by the Veda Purva. So hundreds, thousands of karmas and upasanas. Upasanas means worships. Karmas means, certain things to be done in the form of rituals. So various rituals and various worship or upasana methods are being talked about. Basically, for the fulfillment of dharma, artha, kama, purusharthas, of people who are not yet ready or interested in Paravidya. So those who are not ready for Paravidya or knowing what that Brahman is, but they are happy doing things which are going to fulfill their immediate needs of the three Yashanas, the Putreshana, the Vitteshana, and the Lokeshana, that which is able to fulfill these and get them the capacity to lead a good life here, iha, experiencing the karma phalas of whatever rituals and worships they have done, and also if it can get them higher worlds or exalted lokas after they have passed away or after the body has died and the jiva transits the body and goes out, travels. The traveling jiva finds the next body in a higher or exalted prapancha or higher or exalted loka. So, this is what is given in the Veda Purva. Limited means to limited ends. So, what is the purpose, as I told you, of Veda Purva? Number one, to make these people who are still fully involved in dharma, artha, kama, purusharthas. Veda Purva gives them an excellent opportunity and the methodology to fulfill all their three lower purusharthas, that is the dharma, artha, kama, purusharthas, dharmically, without harming others, without causing any disharmony in the environment. So it helps them to do things as it is told in the Veda Purva to achieve or to acquire or to get whatever their limited ends that they want. They think that they are the permanent ends, that they are the ultimate ends, but they are not. Veda Purva itself warns them that whatever phala you get out of these karmas and upasanas are also variable. There are many, many variables. While performing the karma or the upasana, it may not be performed exactly the way it is asked, exactly the way it is given. It may not be done in that way. And if the karmas and upasanas or the rituals which are given in the Veda Purva, Karma Kanda, are not done properly, then the result or the karma phala that one accrues will be incomplete or it may not accrue at all. So there are a lot of variables. Secondly, even if the karma phala is accrued, when it is going to manifest itself, we do not know. Thirdly, how long this karma phala is going to be there with this person, we do not know, because the Veda Purva itself says that the karma is limited. Whatever ritual you do is limited in time and place and everything. The doer of the karma is limited. The way the karma is done is limited. Therefore, the means to attain a certain end are absolutely uncertain or limited. So, when the means are limited, the ends are also limited. So, when the karma and upasana themselves are limited, then the karma phala is also going to be anitya, ashashvata, and not, it's limited. It is absolutely limited. It's not unlimited as thought of. This is one, disadvantage. The Veda Purva itself says that whatever punya you have accrued by doing these particular karmas and upasanas may not be enjoyed in this particular life, and therefore one has to come back again and again into the cycles of births and deaths to go through or to work out those karma phalas. The karma phalas may be punya karma phalas or papa karma phalas. It does not matter, but one has to come back to fulfill them. It means that this karma and upasana or Veda Purva continues to keep one in samsara. The third one is that it is not going to give you that ultimate desire of freedom from samsara. It does not give you. It may give you the highest of the lokas. A properly performed karma and upasana may take the upasaka maximum to the Brahmaloka, that is it. But beyond that, moksha is not possible. by mere karma and upasana. But then what are the advantages of this after limitations? This karma kanda, if it is performed, the karmas and the upasanas are performed with nishkamataya, without a sankalpa for fulfilling a particular desire. A nishkamataya done karma and upasana can give one the chitta shuddhi and chitta naichalyam which is necessary for going to the next section of Vedas Vedanta. And ultimately, Veda Purva itself can create, as I said in the last session, a gateway of Vairagya. Because after having done these karmas and upasanas for lives together, a time comes when this person who's a karta, upasaka, and also a karta of all the karmas, ultimately realizes that after all this, what I'm getting is limited, and therefore Veda Purva expects every one of us who follow the Veda Purva at some time or the other will develop Vairagya. And through this gate of Vairagya, the Veda Purva itself leads this person to Vedanta, which is knowing the Saksharam Brahman. Knowing this Aksharam Brahman, Brahmavid apnoti param, the one who attains the limitless. What is the limitless? Brahman or moksha. So, in the last session, with this, we saw that first, initially, for the first 6 verses in this particular section, the Upanishad talks about the various advantages of Veda Purva, doing the rituals, doing the karmas and upasana. What are the advantages that it talks about? The positive effects of karma and upasana are talked about in the first 6 verses. And we saw the 4 verses up to which we saw what are the kind of karmas, how they have to be done, especially taking the advantage of the simplest karma of Agnihotra. And then what is meant by a well lit fire? What are the 7 tongues of a well lit fire? We saw till there. And as I said, we may not, up till the 6th verse, we may not be much, it may not be much relevant to us because the Upanishad is talking about the Veda Purva with its advantages more. So we saw the 4th verse where Kali, Karali, Manojava, okay, and then what is that the other one? Kali, Karali, Manojava, Sulohita, Sudhumra Varna, Spullingini, and Devi. Okay, and that Devi, Vishwaruchi. 7 tongues of a well lit fire. Why is the Upanishad talking about it? Because it is said that when you do a particular fire ritual, which is called as the yajna, a fire ritual, the havis or the oblations or the offerings, whatever they are, for different yajnas, for different rituals, different devatas are invoked and different oblations are given. And they have to be poured in a well lit fire. And therefore, it is said that they have to be, there has to be a very well lit fire with this, all these 7 tongues. We saw that in the 4th verse. Now we'll go to the 5th verse where the Upanishad says, Yeteshu yascharate bhrajamaneshu yatah kalam cha ahutayo hyadadayan tam nayantyetaha suryasya rashmayah yatra devanam patireko adhivasaha. So, those who are doing this fire ritual, whichever ritual may be, for whatever purpose it may be done, the rituals are performed by offering the particular oblations as directed in the Veda Purva into these shining flames. That to which part of the which flame it has to be offered, which part of the fire it has to be offered, all those are there, whether it is in the right side, left side, or the middle, or what. Let's not go about it. These are all the particulars of details where a particular person who is doing a particular karma has to very strictly follow whatever has been told as per the way the ritual is being done for the right results, for the best results. So, what he said is the one who offers these ahutis means oblations, into this well lit Saptajivha fire, the seven tongues of the fire, at the right time, Yatha Kalam. Yatha Kalam cha. So he says here, Yeteshu Yascharate Bhrajamaneshu. Bhrajamaneshu means brightly shining seven tongued fire. Yatha Kalam cha ahutayo hyadadanan, that is dayan, yada dayan. That means giving or offering these ahutis or the havis or the oblations, whatever is offered into the fire, yatha kalam, at the right time, whenever it is to be offered. What happens? These oblations themselves are taken in a sukshma form by the fire devata, Havyavahana, to the respective devatas whom we have actually invoked for this particular ritual. And it is said that this punya takes this person to higher lokas through the bright paths. So that is what is said here. So he says, Tam nayantiyetaha suryasya rashmayaha. That means through the rays of the sun. What it means is, don't worry about this. We have seen two gatis. Remember? Shukla gati and Krishna gati, where a karmi and an upasaka, both of them, how they travel after death to the higher lokas through what is called as the Shukla Gati and the Krishna Gati we have seen. So here, what is being talked about is the one who has done this karma properly in a proper way, he is, or when he dies, the jiva is carried to the higher lokas in proportion to whatever he has done in this particular yajna or in this particular karma. And what happens is these you know subtle parts of the Dhavis are literally are those which are the punya in the form of punya. They carry this yajamana. What is the meaning of carry? Not while living, later on when the yajamana dies, the traveling jiva is taken to higher lokas. This is that what we have to trust the Vedapurva. And this also provided I have done it properly. I have done all the karmas, the satellite karmas, everything has to be done properly the way it has been explained. And more the variables that are there, the more it is going to be difficult for me to do something very right and properly. Now, in the next verse, in the sixth verse, it is a dramatic way of explaining how a person who has performed good karmas and upasana as per the Veda Purva, when he dies and when the jiva travels to the higher lokas, how such a person is welcomed. This is a little dramatization, so we did not go very deeply into what it says. Here he says that how you are welcomed, as though in the higher lokas, the devas or the denizens are waiting and looking forward to welcoming you. And in this previous mantra, that is in the fifth mantra, we said, Tam nayanti etaha suryasya rasmayaha yatra devanam patihi eko adhivasaha. That means it takes this yajamana to the higher lokas or heavens where devanam adhipatihi Indra is ruling, adhivasaha. Where here he says devanam patihi ekaha adhivasaha. There's one Devanam Patihi, Devaraja Indra, who is actually ruling over these higher lokas to such lokas, these people are taken by the punya they have gained by doing these particular karmas as given exactly in the Veda Purva. And what are it? What is it that carries? Depending on what they have done through the Shukla Gati or through the Krishna Gati, they may go to various different higher lokas. We can just leave it at that. Then, in the sixth mantra, to actually give a dramatization of how when a person goes to higher lokas, how such a jiva is welcomed. See, you have to take it with a pinch of salt in the sense that the Upanishad is only trying to do the stuti of those people. It is trying to praise those people who are following the Veda Purva very, very appropriately and very accurately. So, how they go to the higher lokas, and when they go to the higher lokas, what happens? That is what is being said here. And this phalam of reaching the higher lokas is talked about here. And this phalam is for the sake of stuti, for the sake of praising, it is exaggerated a little bit. So let us see the sixth mantra. Here he says, ये हि इति तम् आहूतयः सुवर्चसः सूर्यस्य रश्मिभिर्यजमानं वहन्ति प्रियां वाचम् अभिवदन्त्यो अर्चयन्त्यः येषवः पुण्यः सुकृतो ब्रह्मलोकः. So it seems that's what the Veda Purva, that's what the Upanishad says. So it seems this Yajamana, the traveling jiva of the Yajamana, through the rays of the sun, Rashmi Bihi Suryasya Rashmi Bihi Yajamanam Vahanti. This Yajamana, the person who has done this yajna or this ritual, Vahanti, they carry him. And when he reaches that loka, what happens? There are people there, there are denizens there, devas there waiting, it seems, to welcome him. Yehi ititam ahutaya suvarchasaha. These very ahutis which he has given in the form of punya, they and the devatas there welcome this particular person who has done the yajnas. Yehi iti. Welcome here. The words of welcome are talked about. And these suvarchasaha ahutayaha, these bright ahutis which travel through these Surya Rashmis, through these rays of the sun, that is the path that is given in the Veda Purva. And such a jiva is welcome. Yehi iti. Priyam vacham abhivadanti yo archayantyaha. With nice words, sugary words, they welcome this particular person. Yesha vaha punyaha sukruto brahma loke. So, by worshipping, your punya has brought you to this higher loka or to this heavenly loka. Brahma loka doesn't mean the actual Brahma loka, but the higher loka where a person has hardly any dukkha. It is more of a sukha pradhana loka. All the higher lokas are supposed to be sukha pradhana lokas. So all that punya you have gathered here in those higher lokas, you are going to encash that punya in the form of a wonderful life there, in the form of all sukha life there. Sukrutasya punyah sukrutaha yeshavaha punyah sukrutaha. The sukruta you have done, whatever good deeds you have done in the form of following the Veda Purva and the good deed of doing these yajnas and upasanas, it is your sukritam, that is your sukrita, well done. It is the punya of that particular thing which you have done has brought you to these dukkha rahita lokas. These lokas which are all absolutely without any kind of problems, without any kind of dukkhas. So the first 6 verses of this section talk about the positive aspects of Veda Purva. But I have given you last session also, in this session also, in the introduction, that what actually Vedapurva does, what is the content of Vedapurva, how it benefits a common man who is still interested in material gains of artha, kama, and dharma, and how it prepares the mind of a person and brings about Vairagya, and Vedapurva itself pushes him to Vedanta. That is what is important to know here. This is the most important thing that we have to understand here. Next, from the seventh verse onwards, in the next verse, few verses, next 5 or 6 verses, what is going to be talked about by the Upanishad? The limitations of Vedapurva. Because when you say aparavidya or inferior vidya means it is a vidya or knowledge with limitations. It is limited means to limited ends. Limited karmas, limited upasanas to limited karma phalas. Even higher lokas are limited. Once you have enjoyed the higher lokas and exhausted the punya, then you are going to come back to the lower lokas. Tetam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti. We saw that in the Bhagavad Gita also. So now, seventh verse onwards, he is going to talk about the limitations of Vedapurva. What are its limitations? So here, seventh verse will read. Plavahiyete adhrida yajna rupaha अष्टादशोक्तम् अवरं येषु कर्म ये तच्छ्रेयो ये अभिनन्दन्ति मूढाः जरामृत्युं ते पुनरेवापि यन्ति. So what is said here is the phala or the phalas or the results, the karma phalas of the karmas and upasanas done as per the Veda Purva, they are limited. And how does he explain this? He says, Plavahi ete adhrida yajna rupaha. Supposing you have a raft. You know a raft? It's not a boat, it's not a ship. It is a raft. A few pieces of wood are very loosely put together, tied together, and a platform is made to cross over small bodies of water, shallow bodies of water. Maybe a lake can be crossed over, a narrow river can be crossed over with a raft. But can you use a raft to cross over or to travel in the sea or in the ocean? Is it possible? No. So, what does he compare? The Upanishad Guru here compares all the karmas and upasanas that are done as per the Veda Purva to a rickety raft which you are trying to use to cross the ocean of samsara. Is it possible? Can we cross the ocean of samsara with limited means and get that limitless end of moksha? Is it possible? So, what he says is here all these karmas, all these upasanas, the entire Veda Purva may take you to some extent somewhere. It does take you somewhere. It's not that it doesn't take you. It may take you to higher lokas. It may fulfill your ashanas for the time being, but nothing more than that. So he says, Plavahiyete adhrida yajna rupaha. These yajna rupaha plavaha means these yajnas and yagas and all these things that you do as per the Veda Purva are compared by the Upanishad Guru to a adhrida plava. That means what? Adhrida means a rickety, unstable raft made up of a few pieces of wood tied together. It is like that. It may take me across a short distance, but when it is a large body of water, a deep body of water, I cannot depend on a rickety raft that is put together. Why it is put together, Yajnaha? Because The Yajamana is there. There are so many Purohits, those who are called as the Advaryus, or those who are, the Ritviks who are performing these karmas. They are all variables. So we'll come to the next verse where how many variables are there. And the more number of variables, the insecure the entire karma becomes. What was described in the first and second and third verses was a simple Agnihotra karma. But what is being now used to tell us the limitations of karma and upasana is taking those really big fire rituals, yajnas, where a number of procedures have to be done, a number of satellite karmas are there, a large number of mantras have to be used, a large number of ritviks have to be used, and in such a case, the more the number of variables that are there, the less likely it is that you are going to fulfill your desire for the expected karma phala. So, plavahi yete yajna rupaha adridaha. Yete, all these yajna rupaha yajnas, are as rickety and unstable as an unstable raft. Then it says, Ashtadashoktam avaram yeshu karma. All these fire principles, those which are performed as yajnas, here our teacher is talking to whom? A Mahashala Shaunaka. Shaunaka is a person who has done plenty of these yajnas and yagas. That is why who is Shaunaka? Our Shishya here in this Upanishad. Shaunako Havai Mahashalaha. Mahashala, he was described, he was introduced as a Mahashala, a person who has done a large number of yajnas and yagas. So naturally, the teacher has to tell him the limitations of whatever he has done. But fortunately, those very karmas that he has done, that very Veda Purva, having given him, created him a gate of Vairagya, has sent him to this Guru to ask for that knowledge by knowing which one is forever free. So he says that Plavahiyete Adrida Yajna Rupaha Ashtadashoktam Avaram Yeshu Karma. So he says here that most of these big fire rituals or yajnas depend upon 18 main factors. Ashtadasha Uktam Avaram Yeshu Karma. 18 things, components are there, important components of this yajna. What are those 18? Yajamana, the one for whom this particular yajna is done, the one who does it for his own benefit. Second is Patni. Without a Patni, the Yajamana cannot do any of these fire rituals or yagas or yajnas. So there is Yajamana, there is Patni, and then there are 16 Ritviks, 4 from each Veda. So those belonging to the Rig Veda are called as Hotru Ganas. Those belonging to the Yajurveda are called Advaryo Ganas. Those belonging to the Samaveda are called as Udgatra Ganas. Ganas means groups. And those 4 who belong to the Atharvana Veda are called Brahma Ganas. So, in every big fire ritual, there are 16 Ritviks or 16 people who are actually conducting this particular yajna for the sake of this Yajamana, who I want for some particular reason. So, 16, 17, Yajamana, and Patni, 18. Now, you may ask, Patni is very important because one thing, without the Patni, the Yajamana cannot do a fire ritual. That is number one. Secondly, the Patni has to be there in the beginning, at the starting of the particular karma during Sankalpa. Why? Because it is said that 50% of the punya accrued by the Yajamana goes to his wife. She partakes of the 50% of the punya earned by the husband in a particular karma. That is one thing. I'll give you some interesting facts about this after I finish this. Second, whenever this ajya or melted butter is offered into the sapta jihvas of the fire as ahutis, she has to come out and inspect that ajyam. Vikshanam. Ajya vikshanam has to be done. Then only it can be offered. Then third thing is, at the end of the this yajna, she has to approve of the dakshina that is going to be given to all the ritviks and to other people. And she has to make all the arrangements for preparing whatever food is going to be distributed, annadana that is going to be made. So these are the four important roles for the patni. The Yajamana makes the Sankalpa, sits and does whatever the Ritviks are ordering him to do. In this very important thing, I must tell you, it's just a little aside to make this thing a little lighter. The Patni is supposed to get 50% of the Punya which is gathered by this Yajamana through this particular whatever, fire uh, karma that he's doing. And it is said that if the husband performs any kind of a papa, then there is no question of sharing. The wife does not share the papa of the husband. She shares, the patni shares only 50 equal. She's an equal partaker of the punya of the husband. But the papa of the husband, she has nothing to do. She will not share the papa of the husband. Then there is something other than that also. Now, we have certain santas in Karnataka called as dasas, dasamani. There are a lot of these beautiful, bhajans or kritis written by these South Indian, especially in our Karnataka. A lot of these dasas, dasavani it is called. In one such dasavani, a particular saint says, Ganda madida punya hendatige samapalu. Means Ganda means the husband. Whatever punya the husband has done, ಹೆಂಡತಿಗೆ ಸಮಪಾಲು, equal. She shares it equally. ಗಂಡ ಮಾಡಿದ ಪಾಪ ಹೆಂಡತಿಗೆ ಪಾಲಿಲ್ಲ. There is no absolute no share of what papa the husband has done. Of course, then there are two more rules that we will not talk about it because it will make it very too much light. So it's not. That's to remember. So Patni shares the 50% of the punya accrued by this Yajamana. Therefore, Yajamana, Patni, and 16 Purohits, or who are called as the Ritviks here, who are guiding them to do the karmas. Just imagine 16 people, 18 people involved in doing a particular karma. 18 people. What is the role of a Hotragana? What is the role of Advaryus? What is the role of Udgatras? And what is the role of Brahmagana? All that we don't have to worry. Each of them have got a specific role to play. Let us not worry about it. That means what? Any karma where 18 people are involved, you can imagine the lapses that can happen. You can imagine the shortcomings that can happen in these. Therefore, he says that Plavahi ete adrida yajna rupaha ashtadasha uktam avaram yeshu karma. Wherever so many variables are involved, it is avara karma. It is an inferior thing where you may not get what you are expecting. And what does he say? Mudhaha ye tat shreyo ye abhinandanti. So the mudhas, or those who are, ignorant, think that they can get ananta phalam, they can get nitya phalam out of these. It doesn't mean we should not do them. Don't think that. See, unfortunately, what happens is the Upanishad sometimes praise something a lot to attract a person. And when it does the ninda, it does, it tries to bring out all the limitations. It doesn't mean that Veda Purva should not be followed. It does not mean that I should not do the karmas and upasanas. Very well do it. There is nothing wrong in doing that. But understand the limitations of it. And also understand that one day or the other, We have to get out of this and go further. However wonderful karma kanda may be, one day or the other, we have to get out of it, because this karma, this upasana, Veda Purva, karma kanda is going to keep us bound in the samsara forever as long as we are in this. So, therefore, sometime or the other, one day or the other, we have to get out of Veda Purva, and through this gate of Vairagya, go to a guru and ask for this knowledge, just like our Shaunaka has done, going to Angiras and asking for this, this particular vidya. So, ye tat shreyo, ye abhinandanti moodaha. This is the shreyas they think. They don't understand that there is shreyas means a total freedom from this samsara, getting a few things that I want temporarily, which gives me temporary happiness. That is not Shreyas. But these Mudas or ignorant people think that that is the ultimate end. Ye tat Shreyo ye abhinandanti Mudaha jara mrityum te punareva apiyanti. Such people, however well they might have followed the Veda Purva, they come back into the lokas which are not free from roga, jara, and mrityu. In the higher lokas, when you have exhausted your punya, you come back to Martya Loka. In any other loka also, Jara and Mrityu and Roga is not going to leave you. Jara Mrityum te punareva apiyanti. They come back again and again into this loka of Jara, Mrityu and Roga. Then, in the next two verses, in the 8th verse and the 9th verse, the Upanishad talks about how some people are absolutely addicted to this alone, and they don't see that one has to get out of it sometime or the other. You can't be sitting in the same class, however much you may love or like the teacher or the subjects you have studied, you have to go further. So, what the Upanishad says is that you can't be stuck with the Veda Purva, you can't be stuck with the karma and upasana advised by the Veda Purva forever, because you're losing an opportunity to get that Shreyas which is going to completely forever release you from this samsara. So, here in the 8th verse and the 9th verse, the Upanishad talks about such people who insist that this is the only way. Those people who do not believe that there is something called as moksha, they say they believe that this is the final. Only this we have to do, and this is the final thing. And such people are called as ignorant people by the Upanishad. So, what does he say here in the 8th mantra? Avidyaya mantare vartamanaha स्वयं धीराः पंडितं मन्यमानाः जङ्घन्यमानाः परियन्ति मूढाः अन्धेनैव नीयमाना यथा अन्धाः. So what does he say? Avidyaya mantare vartamana. Those who are deeply steeped in ignorance. What kind of ignorance? Ignorance that this is everything. There is nothing other than that. And this can give me everything. I don't need Vedanta. I don't need to go to Vedanta. I don't need Brahmajnanam. Karma and Upasana is enough. The so called Karmis and the Upasakas who are sticking on to this, who want to keep on with this, they are called as those who are steeped in ignorance. Avidyaya mantare vartamanaha. Ignorance and delusion. Avidya here means ignorance and delusion. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of my reality, my real nature, that there is something beyond what I'm looking for. What is it that by knowing which I will find this infinite? There is avidya of that. At the same time, there is a delusion that doing karmas and upasanas forever, that will give me moksha. There is no need for me to do anything. That is why these Purva Mimamsakas, or those who take Veda Purva to be everything, they don't even accept Vedanta. They say that there is no scope for Vedanta at all. Karma is enough, Upasana is enough to give you moksha, they'll say. There is no need for this Vidya at all. Paravidya is not at all necessary according to them. Such people are called as Avidyaya Mantare Vartamanaha. Those who are steeped deeply into ignorance and delusion. Swayam dhiraha panditam manyamanaha. And those who think that they are scholars, experts in Veda Purva, learned people, and they think that they are the knowers of the self. Swayam dhira panditam manyamana. They feel that there is no other Shreyas, there is no other higher goal or highest goal other than this. They think they are Panditas. They think that they are the ones who know everything. Janghanyamanaha pariyanti mudhaha. They keep traveling. Janghanyamana means constantly, continuously afflicted. Afflicted by what? Roga, Jara, and Mrityu. And they keep wandering endlessly. Janghanyamanaha pariyanti mudhaha. They keep on wandering aimlessly. Where? From one loka to the other, one loka to the other. They go on wandering aimlessly. Not only that, they will start leading the other ignorant people also. They are themselves ignorant. They do not know they are ignorant. They think they know everything and they try to misguide people who do not know anything. A person who doesn't know and understands that he doesn't know anything is safe because he is not going to mislead other people. Whereas a person who doesn't know anything and thinks that he knows everything and thinks that he can lead other people also in that path, whichever path he thinks is the ultimate path, he is only leading people. It is like andhena niyamana yatha andha. Last line. It is like a blind person leading another blind person. A blind person himself doesn't know where to go, how to go, but he is going to lead another blind person behind him. I know you come, I will take you, and both will fall. Not only he falls, he takes the other person also with him and falls. So these fellows will tell them, you do this, it will happen. You do like this will happen. You do this particular thing, as whether you do this particular karma, you do this particular upasana, this particular thing you do, you will be, you will get what you want. It is like, Yamimam Pushpitam Vacham Vadanti. We saw that in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. There are people who will tell you all flowery words will be used and saying that this is the ultimate. What is ultimate? Following the karmas and upasanas of Vedapurva and getting a few temporary karma phalas is the ultimate for them. And they are mudhas. They are blind themselves, but they are leading other ignorant and deluded people also. Andhen niyamana yatha andhaha. They not only wander endlessly themselves, but they also have followers. They have people to follow them and fall into the same pit. What is shown here? The relativity or the relative position of karma phala is talked about here, nothing else. This is not trying to blame the Veda Purva, it is only trying to tell me that the karma phala produced by any karma and any upasana is very, very relative. It is very, very limited. That is all it is talking. Does it mean that you should not do it? No. Any action done with dharma will definitely get you punya. Will definitely get you punya. What is punya? It, with adequate and proper surroundings without much of a dukkha. Whereas If I do actions with adharma, it will definitely get me those karma phalas where I will have to go through a lot of dukkha. But whether it is a dharmic karma phala, I mean karma phala obtained out of dharmic actions, or dukkha karma phalas got out of adharmic actions, ultimately every karma phala I have to fulfill, I have to work out, and for that I'll have to keep on coming again and again and again into this cycle of birth and death. So whether the karma phala is desirable, whether the karma phala is undesirable, the karma phala is temporary. It is going to last for a very, very short time. And what is it that is going to give me? What is the most desirable one for everyone? Most desirable one is nothing but that Paravidya which describes to me that you are the ultimate, you are the infinite Brahman, which releases me from all my ignorance and releases me from all my delusion. If you remember, the same mantra appeared in Kathopanishad also. Yamadharmaraja says the same thing, the same mantra is talked about, only one or two words are little different there. But here also it is telling me here the limitation of karma phala. The Shastra says here that karma and upasana can only give you preparation of the mind for moksha, but the karma and upasana cannot directly give you or take you to moksha. That is all that is being told here. If you understand this, that is good enough. Then in the next verse, that is called the ninth verse, the same thing is being talked about, but in a different way. अविद्यायां बहुधा वर्तमानाः वयं कृतार्था इत्यभिमन्यन्ति बालाः यत् कर्मिणो न प्रवेदयन्ति रागात् तेनातुरा क्षीणलोकाश्चवन्ते Shinalokaschavante, who balaha. In the previous verse, what it was? Mudhaha. In the previous verse, it was Mudhaha. Janghanyamanaha pariyanti Mudhaha. Here, what does he say? Vayam kritartha ityabhimanyanti balaha. Balaha means a very childish person. Who is he? Avidyayam bahuda vartamana. There, what was it in the previous verse? Avidyayam antare vartamanaha. Steeped in, literally, completely drowned in ignorance and delusion. Here he says, Avidyayam bahudha vartamanaha. The meaning is the same again. Very deeply steeped in avidya, ignorance and delusion. Vayam kritartha. I am kritartha. I have done all these things, so I have attained. Aham kritartha. Vayam kritartha. We are kritarthas because we have done. Kritartha means whatever had to be done, we have done. Only part of it has been done. Veda Purva is only the initial part of what is to be done. If you really have to be a Kritartha, I have to know myself. I have to free myself from this samsara. That is really Kritarthatvam. Real Kritarthatvam is what? That I have completely and once for all removed my ignorance and escaped from this samsara. That is actually whatever has to be done has been done. Here, it is not so. It is not an ultimate Kritarthatvam. So he says, Vayam Kritartha. I am blessed. Whatever has to be done, I have done. And Kritartha, and not only that, iti abhimanyanti balaha. I know very well. I am well informed. This is all that is there to be done. I have done it. I have become Kritartha. That's what they say. Yat karmino na pravedayanti ragat. Okay, so they do not know themselves because they are surrounded by desire and longing and raga for the world of objects. Putraishana, Vittaishana, Lokaishana. They are fully steeped in these yashanas, deluded that this can give me whatever I want. Yat karmino na pravedayanti ragat. These karmis do not know themselves. They do not know what is it that they are missing. They do not know what is it that they should look for to find that peace, security, and happiness which they are looking for. They think this is everything. I do a few yagas, yajnas, karmas, upasanas. I have done everything. I have done whatever has to be done. No, it is incomplete. Veda Purva without Vedanta is incomplete. Vedanta is not possible without Veda Purva. Therefore, they do not understand that Yat Karmino na pravedayanti ragat tena aturaha kshina lokaschavante. Therefore, very soon they come back to lower lokas, to either the Martya loka, this loka, Bhuloka, or to even lower lokas. It means literally, te naturaha kshina lokas chayante means what? They literally fall from the higher lokas or heaven. For them, ultimately, gaining heaven or swarga or higher lokas is the ultimate. There's nothing beyond that. Gaining the higher lokas, gaining swarga is moksha. But they don't understand that even there in swarga also, in higher lokas also, once the punya that you accrued to go there, to reach there, once that punya is exhausted, one literally falls from the higher lokas. So what happens? They are constantly afflicted by running out of their punya, and they fall from these higher lokas when their punya is exhausted. Kshina lokaschavante te aturaha. Aturaha means very, very fast, the afflicted ones. Tena aturaha. The aturaha means the afflicted ones, afflicted by this ignorance and delusion. They have attained something good, nothing wrong, but that is not the ultimate. They do not know that this is not the ultimate. They do not know that. So what do? They reach wherever they have to. They get whatever they want. All their ashanas are to some extent fulfilled, partially, because never can they be totally fulfilled. And then they Shyavante. They literally fall from those higher lokas to the lower lokas. When the loka kshina, kshina loka, higher loka means when the punya phala is completely gone, they fall into the lower lokas. So what here, the seventh, eighth and ninth words are talking about it is nothing but there is a limited end to all the karmas and upasanas that we do. But the best advantage of this is a state of chitta shuddhi and chitta naischanyam, which gives me the capacity to go to the next section of the Vedas, that is the Jnana Kanda, and get myself free once and for all. So this is we will take up the 10th, 11th and 12th mantras, where it talks about how a person realizes this and how a person should go ultimately to Vedanta or Jnana Kanda is being talked about in the 10th, 11th and the 12th verses we will see in the next session. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ तत्सत्